So in 13.1, let's look at some questions involving interest. Our first question is find the simple interest owed for the loan. And this is the given information. So $7,050 at 4% for 1 year. So since it says simple interest and it says find simple interest, our formula was interest, if we're involving simple interest, is going to be the principal times the rate times the time. So remember, the principal is your initial amount. In this case, what we borrowed, because it's a loan. So P in this case is the 7,050. The rate of interest is 4%. But remember, we have to understand that 4% means 4 out of 100. And 4 out of 100 means to move the decimal two places to the left. So it would be 0.04 as a decimal. Time has to be in years, and it's just for 1 year. So all we have to do is substitute into our formula. So interest is going to be the principal. Whoops, let me go ahead and substitute this time. Start with that. So let's see if we can get that. So we replace the principal, and a lot of times I may use parentheses. You don't have to. So $7,050 times then the rate of interest, which is 4%, and for just a year. Like I said, simple interest is usually over a short term. So I'm going to use my calculator and just type in 7,050. So notice how we don't need a fancy calculator here. Any little calculator can do. Times 0.04 times then 1. Of course, multiplying by 1 doesn't do anything. So we end up with then our interest is going to be $282. So I borrowed $7,050, but I have to also pay an additional $282 to borrow that money. That's what simple interest is. So you have to pay a little bit more than what you borrowed there. So question two also is a simple interest problem. Notice how they say the principal is, looks like $10,000. 10,000, should be like a comma there. So $10,000 is what I'm borrowing. I'm still using a rate of 4%, but notice that this is in months. So when I do this, my formula again is going to be the interest equals the principal times the rate times the time. So if we pick up on this, and again, I'm going to put this over here this time. So the principal is 10,000. Our rate of interest is 4%. But notice how we've already done that. That's just the 0.04. Move the decimal two places to the left. Our time, though, is got to be in years. So remember, months is a fraction of a year. So 6 months would be 6 out of 12, if you will, which really we know that's like half of a year. So we can write that as a half. So we can leave time as a fraction if we want to. You could have left it as a 6 out of 12 as well because all they want is the interest in the end. So using my calculator, I can replace the principal with 10,000. So let me put this on paper first. So the interest is going to be this $10,000. I'm going to use parentheses here, times the rate of interest, which is 4%, and times, and I'm going to just use 1/2 there. You also could use 0.5 because 0.5 is pretty easy to put into a calculator as well. So 10,000, so I need 4 zeros there, times then 0.04. And then if I multiply that by 1/2, and if I'm using my calculator, I like to put it in parentheses, 1 divided by 2. And that I feel safe about that. And that gives me $200. So the interest for borrowing $10,000 at a rate of 4% for 6 months is going to add an additional $200. So if I can pay it back in 1 year, I only owe an additional $200. Doesn't sound really all that bad at that rate. It's like, man, borrowing $10,000, but I got a way to, I have to figure out a way to come back up with $10,200 at the end of the year. So $200 would be our interest. Notice how it does say round to the nearest cent, but nearest cent means two decimal places to the right. So we didn't have to worry about that. So cent is actually two decimal places because that's the hundredths place. Because remember, a penny is a hundredth of a dollar. Okay. Let's see if there's any other examples that pertain to simple interest. So it looks like we're going to get into compound interest next. So we'll pause and we'll talk about compound interest.